So part 4, if you take a look at the image over on the right, you'll see that there's a lot of things that leave the filtrate and then enter the filtrate, and it looks like they enter and leave again, and it's like, geez, that's really confusing. A, don't try to memorize it. B, understand that your kidney's doing something very intentional. So you get a bunch of stuff at the top of that capsule, that C, that's all kind of gets filtered at one point, and it's entered into that filtrate. And so some of that stuff your body actually needs back. And so in that first part, a lot of the things that it needs back, it wants to get a hold of. The rest of the way through, your kidney is setting up a system where it then tries to reabsorb a lot of the water and a lot of the ions. And then it's playing a game where it's making it easy to reabsorb the water, so it doesn't have to spend a lot of energy doing it. And so the actual tissue inside your kidney is set up in such a way that it's easy to reabsorb the water. And so it's set up to reabsorb water, pump out ions that it doesn't necessarily need to lose. And then the very last bit, when you kind of get to that straight big fat tube, the collecting tube, is under direct hormone control. So kind of like your colon, that even though the last little bit is only accounting for maybe 10, 15, 20%, that's the part that's under a lot of hormonal regulation, because controlling that last little bit sometimes makes all the difference in the world. So just keep that in mind. So your names are on the, you can see the names to the different parts of the nephron to the picture on the left. You can see what's entering and leaving on the right. And then you've got a bigger picture that I'm showing now that shows kind of what can get up and down regulated, and what different types of medications, even though it's abbreviated there, that are under control. So don't get caught up in the details again. So parts. So the glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, that's that cup again. So that's just a set of capillaries coming in and out of the nephron, and it's intentionally set to be leaky. So like I said at the beginning, or a little bit earlier on, your proteins and red blood cells and some water stay in the capillaries. Everything else gets filtered out. And Bowman's capsule are just cells, and basement membrane just means like a series of proteins that's is set up like a lattice network. And that allows your ions and glucose and other dissolved substances to pass through and actually enter that system of tubes that makes up the rest of the nephron. So at this point, you have filtrate in the nephron. And the nephron is just now a microscopic tube that's going up and down and looping and twisting. And it's surrounded by more capillaries inside that kidney tissue that can either pull more substances out of the nephron, like water and ions, or if it needs to, pump more ions and substance like water into the nephron. And so it can either make your urine more dilute or less dilute at that point. So you filter some stuff out at first, and then the rest of the nephron is adjusting what's in the filtrate. So you filter it, you get some stuff, and then you adjust it as it passes through. That's the best way to describe it. So what you're doing now is, as that filtrate passes through the kidney, you're going to see in one part some water gets pulled out to make it concentrated, and then you pump out some ions to make it less concentrated, but to get some of those ions back, and then you adjust it one final time. So pull things out, let some water out, let some more ions out, and then see what you get. So you start with the proximal convoluted tubule, and that's the part that's right by the glomerulus. And again, kind of like what happened with your small intestines, you get a bulk of your reabsorption right here. And so we will start picking up with this in part 5, and I promise you we're getting close at this point.